welcome to the King George, the Hub project site. We are here to do a toolbox talk and have a conversation about hard hat safety on our project sites. Part of our message today is to let everyone know that from a Ledcor's perspective, safety is agnostic. Safety on our job sites is gender neutral. It's irrespective of race, color, creed. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. We want you to go home safe to your families. And so we encourage everyone to understand the purpose and the use of their PPE, but we demand that you use them when you're on our project site. Safety is a matter of risk and risk analysis on the job site. And each one of us perceives risk differently, risk to themselves and risk to others. And some of that is based on personal bias and the unknowns. I didn't realize that what I was doing was unsafe to the guy below me because I didn't know he was there. I didn't realize what I was doing was unsafe to my colleague in the room because I didn't know he wasn't wearing his glasses or his mask or his gloves. And so that's why at Ledcor we make our safety PPE required and then removed by exception, where you have to submit a field level hazard assessment. And you say, here's why my team cannot wear gloves today. Here's why my team should not wear eye protection in this particular situation. And let us have that assessment, have our safety people talk to them and say, is this an appropriate risk in our environment? And what we have out here on the table are all types of materials, equipment, and tools that have fallen on Ledcor sites in the past 6 months across Canada. So we pulled our safety reports from Ontario to BC and have a representative sample here. And you can imagine from a height of 10 feet, 30 feet, 60 feet, 80 feet, these objects coming off the side of the building. And imagining if they hit your head with or without a hard hat, if you're wearing just a ball cap, if you're wearing just a turban, if you're not wearing anything at all. The hard hat is probably the best known symbol of construction worldwide. You know, it represents a level of safety. It represents what we do as an industry. And for Ledcor, from an employee perspective, because safety is our priority, it's one of our core values, it's in our mission statement, it's who we are as a company when we perform our construction management, general contracting duties. So our hard hats, if you look around at our Ledcor folks, are fairly uniform. This is part of our uniform. It's important that we wear these on site without exception because, again, this is a risk assessment tool. This tells us whether or not we're going to be safe in our environment. And when you look at our project, we'll get a chance to walk out there later, you're going to have the opportunity to see the dynamic risks on a project. Everything from walking near mobile equipment, which is why you want your vest, overhead work, tower cranes, people working at the leading edge, inside the spaces, overhead hazards, etc.
So the turban is important symbol. It represents, so you can't hide who you are. You see a sick with a turban, it's somebody you can always approach for help, and you're not meant to hide that. So a hard hat, though, when you're putting it on top, it's not really for the purpose of hiding the turban. It's a piece of protective equipment. So it's a helmet, and similar to other protection, like gloves, you don't wear these to hide your hands. You wear this for protection, and for that reason, like on construction, you can never be aware of everything that's going around you. When you're working, you're focused in the work. You don't know what's happening around you, and especially if you're walking around site, there's multiple cranes moving around. There's people working on multiple stories. A hard hat is an important tool because you go home safely.
The purpose I wearing this turban today, and perfectly Vic also wearing the different type turban. When I used to go to construction site attending site meetings, and John knows, I used to wear only about 1.5 meters, so I can able to fit my turban perfectly on my turban. But wearing this style turban, I won't be able to fit my hard hat. hard hat is a super important. How we deal with, we have a lots of Sikh people working for us, and they're coming from India, coming from different countries now. We have to, especially when they're coming from India, especially when they're coming from Punjab, their background farmer. The important part we're missing, I work with my safety person, Officer Janice Stanley, she's here. What we do, we train them why this is important. Our guru give us message not to wear hat, but we mixing up sometime the hat and the hard hat are two different things. But we message also hat when the situation is, you have to do what you have to do without you cutting your hair, without you touching your hair and doing anything. But you have to protect yourself, you have to protect others. How we do that, we train our workers. The hard hat is super important. One is we ask them to wear, shorter turban. We have some challenges. Janice dealing with them all the time. When we new hire, they don't want to reduce down their turban size. So then I have to speak up, say, listen, we're not asking you not to wear. You need to cut down your turban size, protect your hair, represent your religious, and tell who you are. But you need to reduce down your turban size so you can able to wear proper hard hat.
So we heard today that the notion of a hat is something that is significant in the Sikh community. If we change the language to talk about helmets, I think there's a big win there. I think there's a large educational component here. And again, I think the BCCSA has a real opportunity to get the message out, to work with the Sikh community to ensure that the messaging is actually correct, and also play a large sort of educational component here. I think WorkSafe BC may be missing the fact that there's a large contingent, it seems, of the South Asian community that's in support of continuing to wear hard hats. I think that the WorkSafe BC needs to be careful and cautious, and make sure that they're hearing not from only the vocal minority, but I think from all of the South Asian community. I think that WorkSafe BC needs to really understand that there's a safety issue here, and I think most of them do. They're reasonable people over there. But I really think it's important that they take into account all different perspectives, and it seems to be most people's North Star is wear that bloody hard hat.
I'm looking at a series of incidents from across Canada that they provided us with today. And there's a number of these issues that happen on a regular basis where, despite the best engineering controls and safety mitigation methods, we still end up with things falling from heights. And in the end of the day, the last line of defense is this hard hat I'm wearing here today. And that's what we're trying to show, that in our world, we can have a coexistence of religious freedom and safety. And when done properly, when everybody's educated, nobody's disenfranchised, and everybody goes home safe. The one thing that I think we can all learn from each other is more conversations about understanding the issue deeper. What we're seeing here when we come to these work sites is a really good flow of information, honoring people's experience, their religious freedoms, who they are, and tying that to safety awareness and safety mitigation. And it works when it's done. We saw a number of the reps we had here from the Sikh community talk specifically about a greater degree of awareness so that they could maintain their religious freedom, and at the same time still wear a hard hat and be able to participate in safety. And once the awareness is raised at a level that you can have both, you want both. I don't think necessarily one gets traded for the other. And I would say also as a final point is that there seemed to be universal agreement that everybody should be on a work site safe. And no question about it that hard hats make a difference.